and be alone. This, I think, is still true, but the error in my reasoning was to assume that alone was somewhere you could go, rather than somewhere you had to be left. It's 3 o'clock, and I'm tilting the phone receiver away from my ear to avoid the hold music, which appears to be Beethoven's Battle Symphony played on a toy synthesizer. The kitchen is a junkyard of coffee cups, drain clogged with tea bags. One of the lights above the cooker hood is flickering, muscle pulse in the corner of my vision like a ticking eyelid. On the counter, the following: an orange, half-peeled, 2 knives, a plastic bag of bread. I haven't yet made lunch. Pulled various items out at random about an hour ago before finding myself unequal to the task. Stuck to the fridge. A sheet of paper with the shopping list scratched down in purple biro. Milk, cheese, sleep aid, any, sticking plasters, table salt. The hold music buzzes on, and I probe around the inside of my mouth with my tongue, feel the gaps in my teeth the way I tend to do when I'm waiting for something. One of my molars is cracked, an issue I have been ignoring for some weeks because it doesn't seem to be hurting enough to warrant a fuss. I draw my tongue up over the tooth, feel the rise and split where the break runs along the enamel. "Don't do that," I imagine Leah saying, the way she used to do when I rolled my tongue between my teeth in public. "You look like you forgot to floss." Most nights, though I don't mention this to Leah, I dream in molars spat across the bedclothes, hold my hands beneath my chin to catch the teeth that drop like water from the lip of a tap. The general tempo of these dreams is always similar. The grasp and pull at something loose, the pause, the sudden fountain spill. Each time the error seems to lie in the fact that I shouldn't have touched my fingers to the molar on the bottom left-hand side. Each time, the wrong switch flicked, my curiosity rewarded by a rain of teeth, too many to catch between 2 palms and force into my mouth again, my gums a bold pink line beneath my lip. The line sputters, a recorded voice interrupting the music to tell me for the 50th time that my call is important, before the battle symphony recommences with what feels like renewed hostility. Across the room, Leah sits with her hands around a mug of water. A curious, warming gesture, the way one might cradle a cup of tea. She hasn't drunk anything hot since returning, asked me not to make my coffee too near her since the smell from the percolator now seems to make her gag. "Not to worry," she has said more than once. "It'll sort itself out. These things usually do. Sensations are difficult still. Touch painful. Smells and tastes like small invasions." I've seen Leah touch her tongue to the edge of a piece of toast and retract it, face screwed up as if in response to something tart. "I'm still on hold," I say, for no reason really other than to have said it. She looks at me, slow blink. "In case you were wondering," I think of adding and don't. At around 6 this morning, Leah woke and immediately had a nosebleed. I've been sleeping in the room across the hall, and so didn't actually see this, but I've grown accustomed to her patterns, even at this state of half-remove. I'd been ready for it, had actually woken at 6:15 in time to pass her a flannel in the bathroom, run the taps and tell her not to put her head back. You could set your watch to it these days. Red mouth in the morning, red chin, red spill into the sink. She says, when she says anything, that it's something to do with the pressure, the sudden lack thereof. Her blood retains no sense of the boundaries it once recognized and so now just flows wherever it wants. Sometimes she bleeds from the teeth, or rather, not from the teeth but from the gums around the teeth, which amounts to the same thing when you're looking at her. In the days immediately following her return, blood would rise unheeded through her pores, so that sometimes I'd come in and find her pin-cushioned, dotted red as if pricked with needles. "Iron Maiden," she'd said the first time and tried to laugh. Strained sound, like the wringing out of something wet.